The first one we have is Jean Brockmuller's place, and Steve Brockmuller is actually here requesting that. Oh, well, we can go over those first if you want. I have the admin 2 permits at the first.
Any objection, let's do the administrative permits to be done with the regular business because we have people here.
Okay.
I'm going to step down. Whoa, what did you just say? Move the administrative permits.
Where are you approving the agendas?
I've got those at 7:15 anyways, so if that's okay.
Okay, all right.
Good to go.
I'm still going.
Yeah. So Steve is wanting to install tile with one outlet that it connects to the neighboring property to the east. That outlets into a blue line. And I can let him explain it a little bit more. But if there is a map in there, so you can see the property to the east. And he has easements for those.
Okay. Steve, you want to come up?
Sure. Yeah, this is pretty similar to, if John Brockman was in here, I think a month ago probably. And I own the adjacent property, and then I talked to John and decided we should do this together. The outlet line to the blue line will go through Jay Cutts' property, about 1,000 feet, and we're going to participate together in paying for that. We have easements from Jay Cutts to do that. It's along the existing drainage way he's got to. And all I'll be doing is there's a waterway, and we're putting in probably a couple of tiles adjacent to that, and we'll cross the fence line. I have an easement to pick to John Brockman's tile. Be installing at the same time. So, and then we'll together run the tile down through Jay Cutts to the blue line. And we plan to do that at the same time. We'll have the same drainage contractor doing the work. So hopefully we'll get done this fall yet.
So this permit is to tile yours into John's
Yeah, right.
line as
Yeah.
your outlet before it crosses the road.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And the one that John is gonna do was one we approved earlier.
Yeah, that was approved at a previous meeting, and I think he
Okay.
had about 4 projects that came in that time or something.
Okay.
Is that installed?
No.
That's not
it's
installed.
We plan to do them at the same time. We'll use the same contractor and do them at the same time when they get done.
So the trunk line across Cutts's is not installed?
No, and we'll do that. We'll pay for that line and run it down to the blue line.
Is that the same size as it was when John was in
Yeah,
here?
yeah.
Is
We
it-
didn't have to upside them. They're really pretty small areas we're draining, but
Did you say you did have an easement across Cutts's? I don't see
Yeah.
it in the package. Do we have that?
I can show you the one that I have. Maybe.
I've got
Are they in here? Maybe I'm,
the one in there.
yep.
I've got, this is just a copy of the one that we got from Jay Cutts. Jay signed it, and then John and I both signed it. In fact, I think John already filed that with the county. That's just a copy of it, so.
Kevin, am I hearing that right, that the easement going to Jason?
Yeah, John had already had an easement going.
Yeah, but does this one have easement too? Does it all work together?
So this is part of the same easement.
Yeah. John and I got the easement together
Yep.
from Jay.
John and
I've got an easement for John to go onto his property.
Okay.
Okay, that's in the package.
Did you catch that, Frank?
Yeah, I just wanted
Okay.
to double check that. I just didn't see it in the paperwork here, so.
Yep.
Yeah,
He
Frank,
brought one
they-
in.
And it's signed by both Steve and John and Jay.
Okay, that's all the question I have.
That should go in the packet.
Questions?
Any more questions from the board? Okay, go ahead. We'll
Okay.
discuss it. Is there anybody here to speak for the permit? Or anybody against it? Okay, seeing none, we'll close public discussion.
Any concerns?
Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve this permit.
Okay, we have a motion to approve.
I'll
As it
second.
is.
Do we need to read the finding of fact before or after?
I think we should probably do that before we
Before we approve.
approve it. I got a copy of that here. Okay, so we have a motion and we have a second. We'll go ahead and do the findings of fact before we vote. So I'll read through them. Section 3.9. First one is that the flow and the water quantity to be drained will not overburden the water course into which the water will be drained.
True.
That should be true. The drainage will not flood or adversely affect the land below or proprietors, or in the case of an impediment to drain such, whether an impediment will not flood or adversely affect upstream landowners. That one would be true also. Easements will be granted and where required.
Yes.
That's in place. The drainage will not negatively affect agricultural productivity.
Hopefully improve it.
Should improve it. The land affected or the land drained is and remain rural in character.
Yes.
When the land is to be drained is rural land, the presumption and factors set forth in South Dakota Codified Law 46A 10A20 will be satisfied. That's where the water gets to the blue line.
Blue line? Yes.
Number 7, adequate precautions have been taken to ensure the roadways will not be negatively impacted.
None of concern.
Not a concern. Recommendations from the Drainage Commission on the findings of fact and other factors the Drainage Board determines to be pertinent to the application.
I have none.
Everything's in place.
Yep. Got something over here?
Yeah, I was looking at the power of attorney on the Barkmiller project. They put that on the top of it. And from what I'm reading, it looks like because the attorney has power of attorney, it's the attorney's project. So I admit I haven't been on jury duty for a while, but so does the Rockmule attorney have full and all say in this?
Well, Steve's the power of attorney, it's Gene's land, it's in Gene's name, and Steve has power of attorney for Gene, so he can sign requesting the drain tile, the permit, so that's why we included it to show that he has the right to sign for Gene.
Oh, okay.
And she's been in contact with you too, so.
Okay,
Yeah.
I just wondered. 'Cause
Yeah,
the-
that's included in the packet here, so. Okay, I suppose we should do section 310 also. The drainage into the receiving water courses which do not have sufficient capacity to handle additional flow and quantity of water will be considered to have an adverse effect. The applicant then shall be responsible to provide sufficient evidence with third-party verification when requested.
Not applicable.
Not applicable. Okay. Whether drainage is accomplished by reasonably improving and aiding in normal natural system, whereas in drainage according to its reasonable carrying capacity or in the absence of a practical natural drain, an artificial drain system is adopted. which is what we're doing.
Yes.
The amount of water proposed to be drained. Looks like it's not a lot, it's 2 tile lines in the corner of the field, so.
6 inch. What's the length on those? I was looking here. 1,600 feet. So you got probably two of them, right around 800 feet is all.
2,600.
Well,
2,600
with
total.
the trunk line after the union, that 1,000 foot was already approved.
So, and then the design and other physical aspects of the drain, we have the map, which shows where it is. The impact of sustained flows, which should be minimal. And recommendations from the Drainage Commission and the findings of fact. That being completed, we have a motion and a second, so we'll take a roll call vote.
Fryercheck,
Aye.
Kirschman,
Aye.
Fixler,
Aye.
Cruz.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Okay, I'll turn this back over to the vice chair.
Thank you for your service. There it is. It being 7:17, and Mr. Sternhagen, would you care to explain your or Jessica, do you want to go first?
Oh, he can go.
Come on up here. Before I gotta wrap the gavel again and wake Tom up.
I'm not asleep, John. I usually sleep during these things. Might not know everything, but I don't sleep during these meetings.
Okay, this project is going to be draining some of our ground, Section 10, Utica Township, and we're going into Dennis Michael's property, about 150 feet, and dumps right into a blue line there. I've got the easement, I turned it in here tonight, and Dennis is fine with that.
Where on here is it? I don't see a
Oh.
project map. Do we have a project map, Jessica?
Yeah.
Well, I probably mixed it up with something else when I was here.
Yeah,
This is
there
where it's
isn't
going.
much,
Oh,
she just had to draw a mess there.
This one too.
oh, that one goes with yours. Okay, sorry.
Sorry, this was a little bit faster. I needed to have it in by a certain time, so I had to just draw my maps real quick.
Okay.
You can see this one's probably a little bit better. We've got some lines that are coming. We've had some erosion issues on both sides of this. There's a waterway right down the center. And just with so much, you get that 5-6 inch rain, we're trying to put some laterals in there to just help soak some of that water up. So you can see where it dumps down into Dennis Michael's right there.
Whose place is this?
Dennis Michael.
Okay, that's Dennis Michael's
Yeah.
right there. What,
John, Frank here. I didn't see no easement from Dennis Michael. Does Nick have that?
Yes. Yep, I've got that. Turned it in tonight.
what's the difference between the maps? This blue looks like it runs clear up to the,
You know,
which is the actual,
field, this is just an old map. This is just a newer map.
okay,
This is now field here.
so this goes up to here?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I guess there's,
And I think this is actually would be the way the farm's split up. There's a section here and then there'd be a section here.
So the easement you have then is for 3 outlets?
Yes.
Or,
That's what-
okay. That's what you're intending to do, you're pull 3 lines all from the main.
Yeah, and then there's a couple laterals on it as well.
onto one of them.
Yeah.
great idea, because they're dealing with a lot of erosion.
Yeah, Ms. Brian wrote that in, huh?
Yeah, I think the easement's just basically they can enter the line
This is just west of your home place.
Yes.
Okay. Seems different from this view than it does from this view.
Yeah.
This is your home booth?
Yes, that'd be where my folks actually
Your
live here.
folks live, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right there.
Is this,
That'd be Faith.
Faith, Kevin?
Yep.
You still farm that land?
This is a question for Jessica. Which blue line map is this?
This is the Beacon one, but we compared it to the
USGS?
USGS one.
Good, thank you.
So this is just the site plan, but we always compare it to that one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I usually have.
No, that's-
original
that's-
lines. It was one of those things, I had to get it done that day to get my letters out, and everything, so,
I think we understand what you want to do.
yeah.
Okay. Nick, my question wasn't to you, it was more to Jessica, and she's got a very steep learning curve, and we want to help her every way we can.
Gotcha. No,
Okay.
that's fine.
Why would you run 3 outlets into that blue line?
Okay,
I mean, you've got 3,
yes, there's a hill right here,
oh,
yeah.
so you can't tie them together and just have one discharge?
No, it's very deceptive the way this looks, but you actually come up and then drop back down, so,
You know, flat level land, it's not like that.
you know, we don't, you get over here, it's nice and level, but this is just some rougher stuff.
Yeah, we should have three-dimensional maps.
Yeah, but maybe
Jessica?
last-
Now, that would be cool.
Goggles?
Actually, even the USGS elevation maps, with the grid lines on would be.
Yeah, they show that.
Yeah, one step at a time.
So you'll have to manage or maintain 3 outlets, I guess was my only thing, that if you ran into one, you don't have to look after one.
Yeah, it's just kind of the way things work out, and once we get in there, and if we need to do our surveys, we can get stuff pulled together, we sure will. And then rock the outlets as well.
Any other questions for Mr. Sternhagen? Anyone else supporting?
Thank you.
Anyone else opposed? John, or excuse me, Steve? Okay. I'm going to go through 309 and 310 for findings. Close the discussion and go to 39 and 310. Do the findings of fact. The flow of water or quantity to be drained shall not overburden the water course into which the water will be drained. Appears there's enough slope there. The drainage will not flood or adversely affect the land of the lower proprietors, or in the case of an impediment to drainage, whether the impediment will not flood or adversely affect upstream landowners. Easements have been granted where required. The drainage will not negatively affect agricultural productivity.
On that easement, you have a copy of that from Nick?
I just got it tonight, so.
You'll put that in the file?
I have a question on, this is a good time to ask about the easement. When the easement, and it's a standard easement, 40-foot wide, should it state on there when there's more than one outlet, that it's for? And this would be for future reference.
I think it should.
I think it should. Well, you've got the map of the project, but yeah.
You got the map of the project.
It's best if they're listed. I don't think it's fatal at this case, but it would be a
No.
good suggestion in the future.
Well, we're talking about some stuff in the administrative part, so we can
Okay.
add that to that discussion.
Okay.
Okay.
The land affected or the land drained is and will remain rural in character. The land is rural land, and the presumption and the factors set forth under SDCL 46A 10A-20 will be satisfied. Water goes to a blue line through a stream, and their easements have been granted. Adequate precautions have been taken to ensure the roadways are not being negatively affected. This goes down into a pretty well-defined waterway. We are doing the findings of fact. The Sternhagens are responsible for maintaining the outlets so that they don't cause erosion. Drainage into receiving water courses which do not have sufficient capacity to handle the additional flow shall be considered to have an adverse effect. I don't think that's an issue here, judging from that creek. The applicant shall be responsible to provide sufficient evidence with third-party verification when requested by the Drainage Commission or the Drainage Board. Whether the drainage is accomplished by reasonably improving and aiding the normal and natural system of drainage according to its reasonable carrying capacity, or in the absence of a practical natural drain, reasonable artificial drain, which is going to be buried tile. We don't have an estimate on the water proposed to be drained, but I don't think it will be excessive.
It's all 4-inch line.
It's all 4-inch. Okay. Impact to sustained flows. Sternhagens are responsible for maintaining those outlets. Are there any other suggestions that we want to add to findings of fact and conclusions? There being none, the chair would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion and approve this.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Mr. Sternhagen, when this project is finished, what would you say the shelf life of it would be?
Of the tile,
Yep.
I'd be hoping 50-plus years after I'm dead, hopefully, when we see the
Okay.
Hope it's longer than that.
My life for the tile.
The tile.
I meant for the project, sir.
For the what?
For the project.
Oh, the life of the project, yeah, I would guess that it should last longer than that.
Okay.
We've got tile that's almost 100 years old that's still forming, so.
Okay, because when I think of the way you have to fix some things now, I always get the impression that when you go someplace, they always want you to buy a new something. So what better way to do that than to say to you, we're sorry, sir, but we cannot fix this any longer because it's too old when you haven't even had it for like 2 or 3 years. So that's why I was asking what the shelf life of this project was.
Yeah, well, we get it out through my lifetime anyway,
Okay.
so.
None of us who've put in tile assume that we're going to have to fix it, and we're hoping our kids won't either, if it's put in right. We have a motion and a second. Move for a roll call.
Kralichek,
Aye.
Kirschenman,
Yes.
Bixler,
Aye.
Gunderson,
Aye.
approved.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, motion's carried. Congratulations. Good luck getting it in to both of you. It being well past 7:15, but I think we're setting a new record for 2 permits tonight. Administrative items.
Can I, Greg's schedule for just 30 seconds?
Okay.
How's that project east of Utica with with the township and all of the other regrades on the road and all that stuff?
Yeah, actually, the tile radius been put in, so we're gonna do, I still have to do laterals, and we'll get that in this fall. Bob Long's doing the dirt work. You put in all of the driveways as far as putting the culverts in there, the 36-inch flat, the 32-inch flat, heading north towards New Hampshire, He's cleaned most of that, and he's put diagonal culvert in.
Oh, it is.
We're running into a jam is that Township Road, which Township's putting that culvert in, or, you know, they're paying for that culvert, it's their deal. We're having issues with CenturyLink at this point. When they marked out, they put the fiber optics and the copper liner just about in the middle of where we want to put the culvert. And I'll be honest, I've been talking with CenturyLink probably for a month. Actually so long that the first guy I was dealing with is now gone, and I've been calling, leaving messages at his phone for a week before I found that out. Now I'm on the second guy, his last name wrote him. He is supposed to be contacting the crews as they get out there, to hopefully find it and get it moved so we can put the culvert in. And then I think Bob has just a little bit of ditch cleaning left to do, heading east, and we should hopefully be out.
Well, good luck. Lots of folks watching you on that one.
So, thanks. I'm hoping we can get it. Otherwise, I think it should work well. Everybody seems to be happy. All the guys that got together on it, I think they're still satisfied that things are going to get done and it's going to work.
Good enough.
Yeah, did you
Thank
guys
you.
want to know it's done, or?
No. You were here. I was curious how it was going. I keep hearing buzz.
Anything bad or all?
No.
good?
Just
Okay.
some folks don't think that'll ever work, but
Okay. Well, I'm hoping. We've shot lines on it. There seems to be enough drop going east. So I'm hoping.
okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good luck.
John, I was kind of one of them that was skeptical, but the way it looked, that drop looks like it's gonna work on there. The water flow.
I hope it does. There are times I'd like to be wrong.
Me too. So,
Well, I'll get some video for you when the water, if we get another big gusher like last spring. I'll get some pictures. Hopefully it's all flowing like it should. Nobody gets flooded. So,
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
All right, well, we can start with what we had discussed before about what you want in the easements and stuff. So in case you didn't know, the contract with District 3 is over tomorrow. So we don't have an interim zoning administrator or a zoning administrator at the time. So I know that right now you guys have allowed our office to do admin permits if it goes straight to a blue line on the person's property. And I don't know if the commission is who I address it to, or if I address it to one person. Maybe you can give me direction over, do you want me to continue to be able to do that? Do you want those all to come to the commission? I don't know what we're gonna do in the meantime until we hire a zoning administrator. So that's, I don't know if that's up to you guys, or if you're comfortable with that, making that decision. Or if you want me to check with someone.
If you were a Star Trek fan, you would understand this gesture.
So,
My opinion is until they hire a new zoning administrator, that they would come here.
I'm gonna shut up for a minute.
That's just my
I
opinion.
agree with Kevin. Just to remove that burden from you.
that would be fantastic. So,
Tom, do you have a comment?
I think that since Jessica is learning how to do her job, that she should handle this, because since Pat has been gone, the zoning administration has gone through and through and through, and I think as long as Jessica has this job, then she should handle it. That's just my opinion.
as far as signing admin permits without coming to the board first, or bringing it to the board?
I think they should be, I agree that they should be brought to the board and the commission. Because
First.
we're there.
Or the commission, sorry.
Yes.
Like, brought to the commission first before we sign and approve anything?
Yes, I
Okay.
And this isn't a question of your competence.
Oh, no.
Or your knowledge. This is a
No.
question of,
And no
we live in
offense
turbulent times,
taken.
and I would prefer that you could stay in Stillwater.
Well, and that's why I'm bringing it to you guys, so I have some direction, because, you know, I am new and I'm not the zoning administrator, so that's a burden that's lifted, and I'm more than happy to prepare them to the best of my knowledge. So if there's some forgiveness if something is not exactly the way, but, you know, hopefully I can get everything the way you
No-
need it, so.
Nothing to ask forgiveness for.
Okay.
I would say that anybody on the commission, and you have two of them that are going to be hopping around the house and not being able to get out much for a while,
Yeah.
call them and ask them.
Okay.
But, you know, bring us in, so we don't have surprises either, because we have to explain what you do. And, but all of us, well, Tom and Casey haven't been here from the beginning, but they've been here long enough to realize that we think this is important, and we want to continue, and we want it done right, and therefore we'll do anything we can to help you,
Okay.
okay?
Well, thank you.
And,
Well, Mr. Chairman, I think this is a policy change that is worthy of a motion and a decision by this board, so it's not challenged down the road when somebody comes in and gets frustrated they can't get an admin 1 permit. So I'd like to make a motion that we, during this interim period until the planning and zoning position is filled and Jessica feels comfortable with the process, that we bring all drainage permits to the Drainage Commission until such time that the Planning and Zoning Administration feels ready to take that back.
I will second Mr. Cruz's motion.
we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I have one discussion here. As a board, I know we can do this, but is this a commissioner's,
We can make a recommendation.
recommendation? That's what we're doing then?
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted
So does this
clarify
need to go, are you saying this needs to go to the drainage
It's
board?
it's a resolution supporting you, saying,
Okay,
bring it here. If the commission overrules
Yeah, I
us,
guess they can
that
do
is
that.
their right
Okay.
and privilege.
so I'll bring that up.
The zoning
Yeah.
administrator would have the ability anyway to bring them all,
Right.
if they so desired.
Okay,
But
That's true.
The way it is written now, just that they can do admin 1s without bringing them,
Right.
and some admin 2s, but,
And-
so,
and
we're not really changing the policy, it's just giving direction that, yes,
We're giving her a
feel
hug.
comfortable to bring them all here.
thank you, I appreciate that.
This is, especially from someone who comes from a non-ag background, this has to be extremely confusing and a little frightening.
It's slightly.
And we understand that. And again, if you've got questions, you know, please feel free to call.
Okay,
And we would all, if you said, can we talk about this? But we'd be happy to do that.
okay,
And I'm gonna call for a vote. And if you'll take a friendly amendment that this is a resolution saying in this interim period until we have a zoning administrator, that that she bring them in, because she's got to learn, and it's better to learn proactively than, have something go wrong.
I think that was in the original
yeah,
motion.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? What more can you ask for?
Thank you, I appreciate it. All right, so then we'll go to the admin permits that we have so far, so that will change next time. The first one I have is Lloyd Nedved, and he's got a couple permits. He is over in Ziskoff North between 432 and 433 and 308. I don't know if that gives you any direction. He's got blue lines on his property, and the first one he did 12,000 feet of tile with 4-inch, and he has 2 outlets in that one on his blue line. So that's this piece here. And so if you want to see his project, it's written really lightly on there, but you can see where
Let's see
he's
that, please.
gonna have his outlet. Sure.
You say that's Lloyd Nedved?
Yeah. So it's this piece here, and that's what he's,
What are these?
that's his neighbor's property. I'm not sure what that is.
Whoop,
That's,
whoop,
that's
whoop.
tacky, or not tacky anymore. That's the feedlot. Harmon feedlot. Pretty sure. Oh, let's see. Yeah, that goes up between the trees. What? I'm smelling some
I know,
dissension.
me too. I can show you that. I don't know if this gives you a little bit of an idea. This is his next project, but it's this piece here. There's his blue line.
Yeah, these are both lagoons.
Which way is the water flow?
Give you one guess.
Should flow to the north.
Yeah, goes to the east and then the north, right, Frank?
Well, I don't have pictures of these maps, but just knowing the ground should flow kind of northeast.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll go with northeast.
So it's flowing like.
Goes that way.
And it should be no
No,
problem.
this is
Plenty of
north.
flow that
So
way.
it's flowing away.
Yeah, but look. It's coming over and up.
Well, if they did this right, that should drain to here.
That's probably going into the creek that goes to Yankton. That'd be the start of it.
See now, since Harmonics own this, just by looking at it, I have no idea. He's moved all the cattle up here. This doesn't have any cattle in it anymore. From this loading facility, south, there's no cattle. I mean north, sorry, everything is south.
That's correct.
This has been,
Is this a grid line deal?
No. They were gonna buy their own plow. No, I don't know if they did or not.
Harmonics?
No, Ned, it's,
Oh, I'm sorry.
I think Lloyd isn't that,
Scott and
Scott and Frank's dad?
Yeah, Scott and Frank boys that.
Yeah.
The permit has been issued.
Yeah.
Brian, do this one?
He reviewed it, yeah.
Okay. If the permit's been issued, there's no point in saying much. Permit's there. Any others?
Okay. This one. It's Lloyd again, and it's the property to the east, and it's both of those pieces, so the property to the east and the property to the south of him, it's both his. He's draining the property to the south, connecting to the drain tile to the north, and draining into a blue line. So,
I saw the lines on the other map.
yeah.
That's a pretty good creek through there.
Okay.
And then the other one is theirs as well. And it's the
That might be Martin Creek.
It's the piece to the north of the one that we just talked about. And that
Across the
goes into,
road.
yeah, so that goes into the blue line right there on their property. So it's from over, kind of see. You can kind of see it's gonna go from the middle of the property over to that blue line with 2 outlets, I believe.
Just replace that culvert.
Yeah, that one has 2 outlets.
Okay. Any more?
Yes.
Busy month.
So this is Daryl Nelson Ag Holdings. And he's got blue line on his property. This is a Mission Hill by Highway 81 and 306. If that makes any sense in direction.
Yeah.
So he has a blue line down here, and he's adding,
Right by his house.
he's gonna do 1 or 2 outlets. He put 2 because it's most likely gonna be 2. So he's got 2 outlets into that blue line on his property.
Okay.
Daryl Nelson again. This one is Utica Township, 305 and 439. He's got a blue line on the property, and that's gonna have 3 outlets into that blue line.
Yes, Tom?
I'm just gonna ask Jessica, on at least all of Mr. Nedved's projects, have any of his neighbors come to you about it?
No, because they were admin permits, and he has the blue line on his property, so he didn't have to notify his neighbors.
Okay, because I know he owns the property, but I said from my first day on this commission, I said, I'm always worried that we're gonna have people coming in here when the project is somewhat done, going, oh, I didn't want this and he forgot to tell me and whatever. It's like, well, we're sorry, but the project is already either half or 3/4 done. So I always, before I sign off on a project like this, I always want to know how their neighbors will be affected by the project itself.
Yeah.
So, but if he owns the property, which he does, and none of his neighbors told you anything bad about it, then so far I support what's going on.
They don't have to notify the neighbors.
I thought they had.
Not with the admin 1 permits.
So if they have the blue
No, no,
line
yeah.
on their property.
Yeah, blue line on his property. And we've actually extended that to if you get an easement for your neighbor and he's got a blue line, we've actually extended that.
That's according to the ordinance.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Keep asking questions, Tom.
Yeah.
Me too.
I always will.
Okay.
You can count on that.
All right, so Blake and Tyler Sarda, they are in Central Township, and they have a blue line on their property, so they're 301 and 438. And they actually had tile project already. They're just adding some laterals to that tile project. So, and that goes straight to the blue line. And then Dennis Michael. This one is, he's adding to tile that's already going into a blue line. So he's just adding more to it. And that's it for permits. The next issue I'll need some direction on.
Jessica, just out of plain curiosity, you said he was, you said he was adding to the tile?
Yeah, he's adding, he already had a permit for some tile out there, and he's adding to more he underestimated, I
So-
believe is that one.
Yes, he can add on to it, but do we know what the condition of his current tile is?
I think he's putting it in now. It's going into a blue line on his property, so I don't know. I don't know what the condition is. The permit's fairly new, so I would assume he's in the middle of the project and realized he needs to add 2,500 more feet to it, is what we have the permit for.
Okay.
So,
To his credit, he came in to ask first. Rather unusual for 2,500 feet of tile.
yeah. I know Brian has brought this up before, and he did have a meeting. It's the Sealand Marine and Stringers. And Stringers had filled in a ditch that was a drainage ditch behind their property, which then backed up the water into Sealand Marine. Brian met with Stringers and Mike Slachek. They had a meeting together, and they offered, and I wasn't in the meeting, so this is just relaying. But Stringers offered to let Doug Stevens, who's Sealand Marine, at his expense, do whatever he needs to do to free that water so that it doesn't back up into his place. And he would provide all the dirt. He would pay for all the dirt, Stringers would. I called Doug Stevens to let him know the offer, and he was not happy with that offer. So I don't know what the next steps are as far as we're concerned, what action we should take.
When you say we should take, are you talking about the Drainage Commission or the County
The,
Commission?
the zoning office, the drainage, if it needs to come here and be discussed, or what I guess direction I should take in notifying them of what the next steps are.
I'm saying this as the junior member of the commission right now, still, because I still think I am. But what currently is he not happy with?
In his property, because they added dirt into the drainage ditch, all of that water is now in his property.
Well, Stringers put it in the ditch.
Yeah.
Sealand
So now
Marine
it's-
is being affected.
Yes.
How did that last dispute get resolved? I wasn't here for that meeting on that one where Barkle, the Talabi.
It has not been resolved.
Well, I believe this is all connected to that. It's coming.
Yeah, they all connect together somehow.
Yeah, it's that whole
Yeah,
area.
and then you got Steve Reichen east of there yet.
Yep, that's all part of that
And
too.
you've got Heine's and you've got.
Well, to me, you can't impede the natural flow of water. If Stringers impacted that drainage ditch to where it's backing onto Sealand or redirecting it onto Sealand, that's Stringers' problem. They can't expect Sealand to fix it and they just provide the dirt. I mean, it's a nice offer,
Yeah.
but if that's not acceptable, it still, to me, is Stringer's responsibility, but how that
So
fits with our
so does
statute.
do these kind of cases have to come here to get moved to the county commission?
That's a quick
Just
question.
to settle?
dispute.
Or from there, then it goes to a court if they so desire? Or what is the process?
When we set this up, and this has been one of those, we had a very narrow vote whether we were going to include surface drainage or not, and we did not. We figured we had our hands full with tile. We had talked a couple times about adding surface drainage in an agricultural setting to our list of possibilities. The problem, and we've never had the votes to do it. It's always gotten talked down. The problem is that the rules on urban drainage are different than on rural. And you have an area that had uncontrolled growth and unzoned growth, and now they're paying the prices for it. And whether it's, we don't have the authority right now to handle it. I mean, we could meet here, or we could meet at Ben's and discuss it, but we have about the same authority. Right now, the county commission does, I think that they have the authority should they choose to take it up to do it. They don't think they do. Frankly, the only thing left is circuit court, which is very unfortunate. Unless somebody can get everybody to sit down and they go through arbitration and they get an arbitrator specializing in drainage, and they're there.
We are not an arbitration board.
Well, that's
We
what I
are
was
not.
wondering, didn't the county commission somehow state that this serves as a board of arbitration for water disputes?
They set us up as an investigative group, and then it went back, and nobody wanted to grab it, and so we're kind of, we know there's a problem. I agree, and it is urban, essentially urban onto agricultural land. And the Supreme Court just did one of these about a year and a half ago. And the state ended up buying a bunch of houses because Minnehaha County and the state flooded a bunch of people out. I enjoy reading the drainage cases that come out in the Supreme Court because you have some real fun stuff, and not all of it's in Yankton County.
So what you're saying in answer to Jessica's question is, we don't have the authority?
Right. We have the interest, but we don't have the authority, or frankly, the responsibility.
Who does?
Again, as my mother and I read the statutes many years ago, the county can, but few counties choose to, and that leaves the circuit court.
Is that something where they exhaust all administrative outlets and then
Right.
once they come to you and it moves on to the drainage
Yeah.
board and then that's exhausted, they go to,
And the Supreme Court ruled in June that you don't have to exhaust all your administrative applications at this point anymore. The Williamson rule has been repealed.
okay.
So they could go to state court or they could go to federal court. God help us all.
So it says here that in section 402, and this is, no person or contractor shall cut a ditch within a public right-of-way, remove silt or soil, alter, obstruct, or otherwise disturb such a right-of-way in any way. Such activity shall be a violation of this ordinance. It states that.
Did a contractor do it?
It says no person or contractor shall.
I've heard a rumor, we've got a farmer who's been plugging culverts in this last go-around of flooding.
And I can show you the property if that's helpful
And
at all.
I think that the previous zoning administrator we had was active in investigating them.
Yeah,
I don't think they came to the board.
no,
I think he do a lot of mediation.
He was trying to do
zoning
mediation because
administrator.
he was a nice guy. And it's,
So that says they shall not do it. How do they, what happens if they do,
It says that it is a violation of this ordinance
of this ordinance?
and state statute is what it says.
And who's the enforcer of this ordinance? This commission or the county commission?
County Commission and State.
It says the drainage administrator is authorized to direct and enforce all provisions of this ordinance.
So it would then go to the County Commission.
Which should go to the County
Board of
Commission.
Adjustment, and then go to the state's
Or
attorney.
the drainage administrator in conjunction with the Yankton County Commission may designate technical officers and/or inspectors, attorneys, and other employees to be authorized in this enforcement. So it ends up back at the county.
So maybe go to the county commission first, and then,
I mean, something like that can come to the board and we can say, this needs to go to the county.
okay,
Then it's done, it's
okay.
Yeah,
done the
which is what
procedural
we-
steps and said, you know,
what
this
we
is an
did.
enforcement issue.
Yeah. But we can't, I mean, other than saying it's over there, we can't do
Right.
anything.
And it'd be up to the county then to set up a meeting and a time with an arbitrator or somebody between parties to do that. Which they could have then appoint a zoning administrator to do that.
For Stephanie's benefit, the reason that this has worked, you've seen some really boring meetings.
Who's Stephanie?
Jessica, I don't know why I do that. Jessica, I'm sorry.
Well, I'm usually.
I was waiting for her to correct me. But he didn't.
I get called,
Okay.
it's fine.
You've seen a lot of really boring meetings, and we're really proud of that. Because we've come down with a set of rules that appear to be, and I think actually are, fair. And Tom's, you know, the neighbors involved, notification, some rules about who gets notified and when. Now, we can argue whether the notification rules should be broader, but we've come up with something that works. And in the beginning, the first, I don't know, 2 years we did this, the meetings were not as collegial, and they were not as, I remember one in particular, that side of the room was full, that side of the room had 2 guys sitting there, and nobody was looking at anybody. That one was fun. And, we occasionally have a disputed meeting. But we've got a set of rules that work. Now, in this deal, I don't know, what you have, what was it before people started digging around? What is it now? Who did the digging? None of those questions we are equipped to answer. The only way we could do it would be hire a surveyor, have it surveyed, and have him do a forensic examination of the old maps.
I think the short answer is we don't have the authority.
Okay.
Yeah.
The ordinance does, I mean, like, there's a list of things that you can't, an obstruction of a ditch is a misdemeanor.
Somebody's
Potentially
doing what they're
damaging a
supposed to
Howard
be
Bridge
doing,
is a
but
felony,
Not for us to figure
but
out.
that's for the county commission to then
Yep.
pursue.
Yep.
No,
Take
no,
us
they
to
could
the
task
county.
us with
That sounds
the,
good.
with coming up recommendations.
They could send it back and say to look at both sides and come to
But they're
a
the ones,
suggestion.
they're the ones that have to come up with a suggestion.
Okay.
Okay?
And that's probably the way it should be stated to them.
We are a creature of the county commission, and we act in their bidding.
Well, that works for me, and I will pursue that. So, thank you.
There is a motion that is always in order. What is it?
Oh, is she done?
Yeah, I'm done.
Yeah.
Move to adjourn.
Is there a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
There you go.